Hey, 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 Mom Nation, and welcome back to another episode of Live and Learn. I have a very special guest with me today. Welcome, Adriane.
Hi, excited to be here.
So excited to have you here because your topic is definitely an important topic for moms. Let me tell you, this is certainly something that we talk about day in and day out, but do we really have the tips and tricks? Do we really have the know-how? And today we are going to dive into that with you, and I'm super excited. So, mamas, today on our show, we're joined by, I just said hello to her, by Adriane Thompson. She is a certified parent coach and the founder of Raising Kids with Purpose. Adriane helps parents move from survival mode to connected, regulated parenting through coaching, workshops, and practical tools that actually work in real life. And she's going to get into that. She is certified through the Jai Institute for Parenting, has trained educators in neurodevelopment and whole child approaches. Most importantly, though, she is a mom in the trenches. We love hearing from moms in the trenches because they get it. And she is raising 3 exceptional neurodivergent kids. Adriane specializes in play-based parenting and teaches how connection, not control, is the key to reducing power struggles and building lifelong relational skills. This is the part that we talk about every day, guys, right? The power struggles, the encouraging our children to do what it is that they need to do. So let's get into that, Adriane. Let's first start with your journey. How did you get into this?
How far do you want me to go back? No.
Way back.
Way back. My oldest is 16, and so I have been a mom for 16 years. But even before that, I was the oldest-ish. I had an older brother, and he ended up losing his life when he was 19. I was 14, and then I had 2 younger siblings that were a lot younger than me and that I kind of helped raise because my parents worked all the time. And I thought I had this whole thing figured out because I had a brother and sister that were 7 and 9 years younger. I helped with everything, just along with my stepmom and my dad. But then I had this little boy, and I was definitely not as prepared as I thought I was. I had read books. I had spreadsheets in the hospital, and I remember the nurse looking at me, and she kind of giggled and was like, "Oh, just wait."
Yeah.
And she was totally correct, and especially because when my son came out, I didn't have any friends that had kids at the time. I was the first person at the company that I worked for to have a baby in 20 years. They had to figure out maternity policies. So I wasn't around people with babies either. And so it's like this baby came out, and he was not easy from day one. He needed movement. And to get him to sleep, my husband would run up and down the steps 30, 40 times. Thankfully, we had steps at the time. And it was just, I didn't know what we got ourselves into. He did sleep well. Praise the Lord for him sleeping well. At least we had that. And so then he, became a toddler, and he was just very physical and just always needing to move. And I tell this story when I speak to groups is I still remember him being about 2.5, 3 years old and just preparing in the living room to take off and run into the wall. And he would run into walls. And at the time I had gone back to work, and I had asked, his daycare providers, what do I do? And they told me advice that was not very helpful. They told me to don't let them do it. Just stop.
Oh, sure.
Awesome. But what I really wish, and what I know now, and what I work with parents now, is why. Why did this little boy need so much movement from day one? And why was he so physical? And why was he running into walls? And so that is what set me onto this journey. And especially because when he started school, he could not sit still. And we picked a traditional school because that's how we were educated, and we didn't know that would not be a great fit. And he did survive for 5 years in that traditional environment until we found, we're in Arizona, so we have amazing education choice here. And so we found a much better fit for him. But learning how to advocate for him, learning to understand why he was behaving these ways. And then I had 2 more neurodivergent kids that I was already a little more prepared for when they came along.
So, and again, coming from based on the introduction, we learned that you have 3 neurodivergent kids. So son number 1, neurodivergent. Is it comfortable to get into that at all?
Oh,
And
absolutely.
Okay, let's dive right in.
Yeah, and I obviously had never heard of neurodivergent. This was 16 years ago, or however many years ago, 10 years ago when he started school, and we didn't have the language he was probably about 7 when I read The Whole Brain Child by Dr. Dan Siegel and Tina Payne Bryson, and that's when everything clicked. And so from the get-go, when he was 2, 3, 4 years old, I remember him taking paper. He could make anything out of paper. He would make full semi trucks with working seatbelts and trailers attached. We got him a cardboard cutter when he was 4. People thought we were crazy, and he would make these incredible things out of cardboard. And then he got to school, he didn't even know his alphabet at 5. And people would tell me, oh, well, he's gifted. I'm like, he doesn't know his alphabet. We thought he was colorblind because he didn't know his colors. No, it's just those things weren't important to him, but and so he had a first grade teacher who was thinking that he was gifted. He took the gifted test and he scored off the charts in all the different areas. And so just out of box thinker, and then paired with ADHD. And that's before everyone, it feels like it's like 1 in 5 now, or whatever, 1 in 10. And so I just started learning about the sensory needs and sensory input. And then my second kiddo, if he had formal diagnoses, there probably would be a long list. And he's profoundly gifted. Are you familiar with the show Young Sheldon?
Yes.
It's like living with Young Sheldon.
I love that show.
He loves that show too, because he can really resonate with that character. And profoundly gifted, really, really smart, basically has, he's like a human encyclopedia. But then a lot of sensory needs, emotional dysregulation challenges. We've definitely been through it, especially when he started going through puberty. Puberty hit him like a freight train. I mean, it hits most kids, but it's different, especially when you're autistic. And, anxiety, OCD, all the things. And he proudly talks about it. He shares about it. He loves to advocate for kids that have differently wired brains like his, but it took a journey to get here. And then my youngest, he's 9, and he's never known that he's little because he's the youngest of 3 brothers.
Right.
And there's probably some ADHD and some sensory challenges for sure, but we just knew how to parent that a lot differently. We never, ever handed him a single piece of technology until he was 6. He never held a phone in his hands, never had an iPad. And we see a huge difference in his development now. And my kids are home today. They go to a micro school on a farm, and they didn't have school this week. They're out there. One's reading real physical books, and the other one is doing art. He'll just draw all day long, and he's actually really good at it too.
Oh, I love that. Well, thank you for giving us a little bit of insight into your world. There's a lot of moms that are working through what you're working through, and I know it. That's what you're here for, is to support those moms, right? And that's what you got into it for, support those moms and to those parents. So can we dive into play work?
Absolutely. And before we get into play, I wanted to say too, is a lot of parents, when they start discovering these things about their kids, they realize, oh my gosh, I'm neurodivergent too, or oh my goodness, my behaviors are making so much sense. My husband, when we just celebrated our 18-year anniversary 2 days ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I remember when we were dating, he thought I was crazy because if I would be touched in the same place, I couldn't stand socks, I couldn't stand certain clothes. We didn't know that was sensory back then. And so I'm definitely neurodivergent too. I got diagnosed with OCD when I was 22, and it was a little bit of protective measures too, because of my early childhood. I had a lot of trauma. And so I am neurodivergent as well, and probably twice exceptional. So a lot of parents start discovering that about their own selves too.
100%. Yeah, that definitely rings true in my household. So let's talk about play. So why does play work when consequences and rewards often don't?
Because, oh my gosh, I could talk about play all day long. It is so amazing. Most adults were raised in a work-based approach to parenting, not a play-based approach to parenting. The problem with that is the brain's preferred method of learning is through play.
Interesting.
Yes, it's so fascinating when you really start diving into the neuroscience behind it, and think about it too. As adults, we need play as well. So it creates even oxytocin, the bonding hormone, for us to be in connection with our kids. However, the blueprint we were given were to come in with control and consequences and punishments and even rewards. We flipped it to positive discipline and some rewards. I was the queen of reward charts and jars and clip charts and all of the things to try to control my child's behavior. And the reason why those things don't work is because you're not getting to the root cause of what the behavior is. Whereas most behavior, all behavior, our behavior included, if we keep flying off the handle and screaming at our kids, there's reasons for that behavior.
Right.
And all behavior is communication. And with kids, it's typically lagging skills. Dr. Becky Kennedy from Good Inside says that kids are born with all of the emotions and none of the skills. And that is where we come into play, is to teach these skills. And the best way to teach is through play. And so the work approach to play, and this comes from Dr. Gordon Neufeld, who's an attachment researcher. And so there's a lot that goes with attachment too, and coming into a secure attachment. And so the work approach focuses on the outcomes, and it focuses on basically how we feel like we just needed to stop. Right. And what it does is it treats kids like little workers. Whereas the problem with that approach is kids cannot think in outcomes. They don't have the cognitive skills. We think they do.
Oh,
right?
That's wild right there.
Yes, kids cannot think in outcomes, especially in the first 7 years of life. Their conscious brains aren't even online until they're about 7 or 8 years old. And so that's why little kids, play is the number one way to interact with them, because they're living in play mode. And then they're also developmentally blind to consequences. Yes, if they accidentally burn themselves on the stove, that might wire something in their brain to not do it again. But my kids have gotten burnt over and over and over again. It's because it requires executive function. It requires this forethought of, oh, this happened before, but they're living in the now. Their brains aren't, that frontal lobe is not fully developed. And that is what is required for them to think logically and rationally, and to go, oh, if I throw this water bottle at my sister, it's going to hurt her and I'm going to get in trouble. No, they just chuck the water bottle because it's instinctual, right?
Yeah.
And so what play does is play helps build the brain, and it builds those connections up to the frontal lobe.
Thank you for that in-depth response. You just blew my mind about 3 times with that explanation.
Every time I say it, I'm like, this is just so cool. And how have we missed this? And then I see it in my own home. We use play every day, even with my 16-year-old. And play looks different with a teenager, but play is so important all the way through, because I speak all over the Phoenix Valley and to mom groups, and the coordinators will often ask me, oh, well, play is probably just for little kids, right? I'm like, no, this is your number one tool to connect with teenagers too.
Well, that's amazing. And my next question, you actually kind of just stumbled into, but it's, what does play-based parenting actually look like in real life? And maybe that's different depending on age, right?
Absolutely. And the more you do it when they're little, it becomes just a more natural way of how you communicate as they get older. So if you're just introducing this way of being with your kids and being more playful and joking around and playing games, going for a run, that kind of thing, then it might take a little bit of time with the older kids. So I highly, highly recommend, if you have littles, to definitely be playful right out of the gate. And so what it looks like is, let me back up. Most parents, when I ask them, do you like to play? What do you think the answer is?
No.
Yeah. No,
Do they even know how?
Exactly. And I hate playing, because when I ask that and say, hey, do you like to play? What they think of is imaginative play. And what I teach, I have a Play with Purpose parenting class, and it's a 4-week module, 4-week. I do some live components with it as well. And in there, we figure out there are 12 play languages.
That's okay. You have a little dog too.
I have a little dog. I have 2 dogs. I'm sorry. I was like, oh, I hear
You're fine. You're fine.
Yes.
Your audience is moms. So
Okay.
The fact that your house is as quiet as it is right now with 3 kids and 2 dogs, like, you're doing good, sis. Don't worry.
Did you see my face? And I keep hearing my door kind of open. I told them I'm going to be on the podcast, but it's great. And so where was I? Oh, so there's 12 play languages. So there's lots of different ways to play and connect. It's not just an imaginative play. The other reason why parents don't like play is because they think it's not productive.
Yeah.
And the reason why they think it's not productive is because a lot of times in childhood, they weren't allowed to play, or their play was interrupted, or they got in trouble for playing. I was just checking out at Target, and my boys had all these little Hot Wheels tracks that they were buying to make. They'll make tracks all over our house. And the girl was probably about 18, 19, checking this out. She said, oh my gosh, I used to love these. And then she got really sad. And she looked at me and said, yeah, but they got taken away because I said, why were they taken away from you? And she said, because we were just too loud and obnoxious. And so she has a play wound, right? And so when she becomes a mom, play might seem dangerous to her or not productive to her. And her parents didn't mean to cause a play wound.
Of course.
They probably had their own play wounds. So we really dive into the barriers of play as well, so then we can be playful. So your question was, how do we be a playful parent?
Yeah.
And first we got to figure out our own junk, right? And figure out why we don't like to play.
That's always the first answer to, like, everything.
Yes. So figure out, okay, why can't I play? And then figure out what your play language is and what you what do you love to do, or what did you really like to do when you were a kid, whether or not it got stopped. I loved drama and theater and just being in front of people, which
Pretending.
I still do. Yeah. And pretending. And so I do a lot of imaginative play with my kids to get them in the bathtub. When they were little, I'd become a monkey and there were waterfalls, and, that we would be snakes, and I'm like slithering off the floor.
Oh, that's funny.
Even just now, I'm a robot. Or last week with my 9-year-old, I mean, we're still so playful, especially to get him to do things that he doesn't want to do. Instead of getting into a power struggle, I only have to play for a few minutes, and then he does the thing, versus a power struggle, which typically would last way longer, and then we're both frustrated. It doesn't feel good for either of us. And so just last week, he was not wanting to get into the bath. This is a common theme. And I looked at him, I said, come find me, count to 10, come find me. And I ran into where he takes a bath, which is in our master bath. And I run into my closet and I hide. He counts to 10. He comes in. I was laying inside the bathtub, and he's dying laughing. He thinks it's so funny, and he's like, "Can we do it 2 more times?" Great, 2 more times, and then it's time to get in the bath. So then I get into my closet and I throw a blanket over my head, and I stand next to the other blankets that are hanging up. My legs were visible for some reason, he could not see me. He kept coming in. The dogs are what gave me away. And so he kept coming in. And then as soon as I like pulled the blanket, he's dying laughing. I mean, belly laughs, right? And then I hide in the shower, and then he went and got in the bath, and we did our normal bedtime routine. And it was fun for me. It was fun for him. And so a lot of parents don't know what to do, or especially if they're not playful a lot. So I have freebies. I have a playful scripts freebie. I also have a play-based strategy for kids that gives you lots of ideas. And you just pick one. I'm just going to do this one this week. And then what's really cool is when you are playful a lot, your kids will just start playing with you, especially if you're kind of grumpy or not wanting to do something that they're wanting you to do.
Cute.
It flips because that's what you've been modeling. At least I see this with my kids, especially my 9-year-old, and he's very, very creative. And he will just start playing, and it gets me out of my funk. It's like the coolest thing ever.
I love that. That is adorable. And thank you for those very specific examples. Do you have an example similar to the hide and go seek bathtub example for your 16-year-old? Because some of us, we've got teens now.
Yeah, with him. And he thinks I'm so weird. But it's great because this is a perfect example. I will become an old lady, or I'll throw a blanket. I like throwing blankets on my head, apparently. I'll throw a blanket on my head and walk into his room, and oh, there's been laundry sitting on your floor. I wonder how it's gonna get put away. I think someone's been asking you for 2 days to put this laundry away. And he'll look at me like, oh my gosh, get out of here. But guess what? The laundry gets put away. Yeah. Or he has asked me before, because if I come in and I was like, oh my gosh, will you freaking put your laundry away? This is disgusting. You have disgusting food. You know what I mean? Versus coming and being an old lady.
Yeah. Kids, the teenagers. Sorry, I have an almost teenage boy, as I told you before. Yes. So they start to get a little stinky.
He'll cut. Well, yeah, and he'll cut. Especially, I mean, my kids love to play. He doesn't call it play outside anymore, but he goes to skate park for hours. He rides 35 miles a day on his bicycle.
Wow,
like normal bicycle. And
dang.
He's like, Mom, stop telling people about that. So now I'm telling all your
now the world knows. Sorry, child.
He'll come out and say, hey, can you use that voice again? So I know he likes it. And that's the thing too. They might seem like, oh my gosh, you're ridiculous, but they still need you. They still need that connection with you. Even if it seems like, because they're supposed to pull away when they're teenagers, they're supposed to really care about friends. Right. However, and this is what Gordon Neufeld teaches, we still need to hold on to them, and play is the number one way to do that. And it can also look like, hey, let's go play some cards. Or do you want to go for a run together? Or let's go to the gym together, or, that's still different ways that you can play. Or we will listen to an audiobook or listen to a fun podcast or something like that together.
I love that. Lately, and I didn't even know I was doing it, so thank you for sharing this with me. But lately I've been trying to speak Gen Alpha, and I'm Gen X, so I'm super far away, but I remember being a kid and we had our own language too, and so I'll whip out these words on him, and he dies. It's one of the two things. He either rolls his eyes and he's like extraordinarily embarrassed because I use it in public, or he dies laughing. It's one of the two.
You're making me cry. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. So what's really cool is I serve at my church. It's a really large church, and they call us coaches. And I coach a group of 10th grade girls. And some of them will text me and I don't know what they're saying.
Right.
And so I will hand it to my son, and then he'll decode it for me. And so that's been bringing us together too. So using that language and speaking in his language. And he always tells me, you don't have to speak like that. I'll just decode for you. You don't have to learn the language, which is super fun.
It's really funny though. What if, real talk, Adriane, we're all exhausted. Mm-hmm. What if a parent is just completely drained, can barely make it through the day themselves, checking all the boxes that we have to check? What does play look like for those people? And how can play actually give energy back?
Yeah, because what play does is turns that frontal lobe, that upstairs part of the brain, and it also turns on. We didn't get into nervous system. I teach a lot about nervous system because it just blows my mind of how everything is connected to all the information that we're processing all day long. And so with nervous system, if a mom is completely depleted, that means she's in what's called dorsal vagal shutdown. That's possum mode, where you just don't have the energy. And what play does is gets you out of that and eventually into the ventral vagal. Ventral vagal is your highest sense of self. That's where you feel good. Right now, I'm in my ventral vagal. I love talking to you. I feel good. I'm not feeling stressed. I have this regulated energy. And it's not just, oh, you're just calm. It's this connected energy. And that is what play does. And so it is still important to pay attention to your nervous system. Go, okay, if I'm in shutdown, I got to move through sympathetic, which is activation, in order to get up to that highest sense of self. Mm-hmm. And so maybe play would look like, self-care or movement. Movement is the best way to move that energy. We can't think our way out of different nervous system states. Movement is the number one way. And so looking up somatic exercises, I know I'm throwing all these words out, but look up exercises to get you out of shutdown, to get you out of being just completely depleted, and then figure out ways that you can do that through play. So since movement is so great, if I am depleted, and because one of my sons does have really big emotional meltdowns, we went 4 or 5 years without them. And then again, puberty, I told you, hit him like a freight train. Yeah. And so they came back and he's a lot bigger and it's a lot more adrenaline and all the things that come out. And so my nervous system will go into shutdown. And so then I use play to get myself out of that and use play to connect with my kids. And I bring them into that because kids need what's called co-regulation, but so do we. Yeah. We are made to be in connection with others. That's why, that's great that I'm connecting with you through technology, but it's so much more powerful and we would feel so much more connected if we were in person, because that's how we were created.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. Can you give an example of, let's just say it's the end of the day, parent is feeling super dysregulated, is having an exhausting time. What would you do as that parent? I know you mentioned movement, but can you give an example of that? Like, what does that look like in the moment?
And this might sound ridiculous. The first thing that came to my mind was, let's hop like kangaroos through the house. Because you're moving and then you get your kids and then they can even pull you out of your state, because if they're in an elevated state, it's just so cool how we are created to be in connection that way. And so, yes, like I said, doing any kind of movement, a dance party, putting on your favorite music and just dancing around the kitchen, or using movement while maybe you have to do chores like laundry or cooking, or you said end of the day. So getting kids off to bed. And for me, go-to is become an animal. I don't know, but that's because my play language is imaginative. So you would have to figure out like what that play language is. Maybe it's cozy and snuggles, coziness and closeness. That's a play language. And so that's maybe I'm going to snuggle up with my kid and we're going to read a book together. Or if I'm so drained, we're going to listen to an audiobook together. But we're going to have that connection time through just being close together. So it can look all sorts of ways, just depending on what you like, what your temperament is like, what your play languages are, and what your kids will join in with you.
I love that. And did you say, and forgive me if I didn't hear this correctly or I'm not remembering this correctly, but did you say that you had a short test that parents can take to figure out what their play language is? Did I hear that? Okay, cool.
Yes. So that's part of my Play with Purpose parenting class. And so enrollment's always open for that. And then we do 4 live classes a couple times a year. So anytime that you enroll into the class, you get all of the audio lessons, you get the full assessment. I mean, it's quite the assessment to figure out what your play languages are. And there's assessment on figuring out what your play barriers are. Like, why is play hard for me? Because I get people into this class, and I have one mom that comes to mind, and she shared how when she was a kid, she loved playing with Barbies. Did you play with Barbies or dolls? Or
Of course. Barbie was the thing in the 80s.
Yes, it was. Barbie was the thing. And I mean, my friend, I didn't have a lot of Barbies because we didn't have a lot of money, but my neighbor did. And you better believe I was at her house playing with her mansion and her convertibles and Ken and Barbie. And we had a whole thing going, right? And so she said she loved playing with Barbies as a kid. But as an adult, she has 2 little girls, and I believe they're 6 and 8-ish now, maybe 7 and 9. And she said she can't stand playing with dolls or doing that with them. And so we were like trying to figure out why. And she was able to figure out that her parents told her when she was about 10 or 11, we're getting rid of all of your Barbies. You're too old for this.
Oh.
And that created a play wound she didn't even know she had until she went through this assessment and discovered, oh my gosh, this is why I struggle to play with dolls. And then we also figured out she is super theatrical. She's a singer. She was a worship singer. And I'm like, this makes no sense, but we were able to uncover where that barrier came from. And then we were able to slowly introduce it for her to start playing that way again by giving her a script, because she didn't want to have to come up with what the doll should say.
Yeah.
She wanted, so then she would I suggested to her to grab some books and then just read those as your script. Just be that character. So you don't have to think about it. Or you can do what like your play language is, and then you allow the girls, they get to run that, and then you just join in and go off of them. And so she was able to finally heal those play wounds.
That's incredible. This is the first time now I just let you in on a couple of facts. I'm Gen X. I grew up in the 80s. Okay, so I'm an old girl. All right.
I grew up in the 80s too. 80s for life.
So we're both right there. Now, this is the first time, and I am not kidding you just because you're on my show right now. This is the first time I've ever heard of a play wound. The first time. And this is giant, Adriane. This feels giant to me.
It is, because once we have awareness with anything, right? Once you have awareness, then you can actually take action on that.
Yeah. Mind blown. We're at the end of the show. I am so sorry. I feel like I need to talk to you longer. So perhaps you would accept an invitation to come back on at some point in the future, and we could talk a little bit further. Because this has been incredible. This has been so eye-opening, so mind-blowing for me. Like, I know that it has to be for some of the moms out there. It just has to be. So thank you. Thank you for exposing this and for bringing more light to this conversation that we obviously should be having. So I appreciate you very, very much. Your contact info is in the show notes. But is there anything else that you would like to share with the audience? You got anything cool coming up you want to mention?
Yeah, I am launching my own podcast next week.
Yay! Congrats!
Yeah, thank you. And I did co-host a podcast for a company I worked for. So I co-hosted the podcast for 2 years, and it was amazing. And so after a year of people telling me I should have a podcast, I'm finally doing it. It's going to be called the Raising Kids with Purpose podcast, parenting advice you wish your parents had.
I love it. Adriane, thank you. Thank you so much for being here with us. And again, hopefully you accept our invitation to come on the show again at some point in the future, because I feel like we dug in. We got we had some good conversation today, but I feel like kind of was a scratching the surface type situation. Like we have a lot more to talk about. So I appreciate you being here. Guys, if you are finding value in these shows with, amazing guests like Adriane, then please, on the platform that you are watching this on or you are listening to this on, please just click the subscribe or the follow or whatever button it allows you to choose there, because that just sends us a big warm hug and tells us, yeah, what you're doing here is valuable. Ladies, keep it up. Us mamas, we want to hear more of this. So if you could do that for me, I would greatly appreciate it. If you want to check out any of our previous episodes, we've got Live and Learn episodes, From the Heart episodes, Mental Wealth, Our Love Story, all of these amazing episodes that are designed just for mamas and their households. Hop on over to our YouTube channel. It is at Mom Nation USA. That is the handle. Scroll down just a little ways. You will see the Live and Learn playlist, which is also a podcast on YouTube. If you want to catch it that way, you will find Adriane there. Or on your favorite podcast platform, do a quick search for Mom Nation Talk Radio, and there you will find the same thing, like, follow, download, all the things. You'll never miss a beat. We will see you next time. Thank you so much, Adriane.
Thank you so much, Katie.
Welcome to Mom Nation, where moms find real support, real connection, and real community. Founded in 2014 by Katie Holly Lambert, Mom Nation started as a way to unite and empower moms. Now it's grown into a movement. Through vibrant communities, local events, and meaningful conversations, Mom Nation helps moms grow, share, and thrive together. Listen to From the Heart, where we share inspirational stories, useful information, and discuss a variety of women-related topics. And check out Live and Learn, where moms just like you share helpful tips, tools, and real-life skills. Be part of something bigger. Visit www.momnation.com and follow us on social media, because motherhood is better when